What a man will do when you go silent. I am Bonang Matheba. And sisters, let me take you back to the night everything inside me finally clicked into place. The moment I decided that silence would be my loudest voice yet. It was a humid evening in Johannesburg, the kind where the air sticks to your skin and your thoughts feel heavier than usual. And I was sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone like it was some kind of enemy that had betrayed me one too many times. I had just hung up from what felt like the 100th unanswered call to him, the man who had been filling my days with hope and my nights with quiet tears for far too long. You know that feeling, don't you? When you've poured your heart into someone, planning little surprises, sending good morning texts that light up your own face, just thinking about his smile, only to watch those messages sit on, delivered for hours, that turn into days. It hit me like a wave crashing over the shores of Cape Town. I had been talking to a wall, a beautiful wall that I kept decorating with my own colors, hoping one day it would talk back. But walls don't talk, ladies. They just stand there, and that's when I knew I had to stop painting. The decision to go silent wasn't born out of anger in that instant. No, it was exhaustion, mixed with a spark of self-respect that had been flickering dimly for months. I set the phone down on my nightstand, face down, so I wouldn't be tempted by the glow of a potential notification, and I whispered to myself in the mirror across the room, "Bonang, you've said enough." My reflection looked back at me with eyes that were tired but determined, the kind of look you give yourself when you're about to level up in ways no one else can understand yet. I thought about all the times I'd excused his silence. He's stressed at work, he's with the guys, he's just not a texter, but deep down I knew the truth. If someone wants to reach you, they will, no matter the storm. And he hadn't been reaching. That night, I didn't cry like I usually did. Instead, I felt a strange calm wash over me, like the first rain after a drought, cleansing everything. I sat on my balcony overlooking the city, watching people hustle below, and I made a promise to myself. No more calls, no more texts, no more explanations. Silence would be my boundary, my shield, and maybe, just maybe, my salvation. I thought about you, my sisters out there, the ones who have felt this exact pull in your chest, the ones who keep giving second chances until there are no chances left to give. What a man will do when you go silent. I am Bonang Matheba. And sisters, let me take you back to the night everything inside me finally clicked into place. The moment I decided that silence would be my loudest voice yet. It was a humid evening in Johannesburg, the kind where the air sticks to your skin and your thoughts feel heavier than usual. And I was sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone like it was some kind of enemy that had betrayed me one too many times. Before that silence took hold, let me paint the picture of how much I had been giving. Because sisters, if you're nodding along right now, you've been there too, pouring from a vessel that was running dry without even realizing it. It started small, like most love stories do. A spark from a mutual friend at a rooftop party in Sandton, his laugh cutting through the music, his eyes locking on mine like I was the only woman in the room. I want you to know that deciding to go silent isn't about playing games. It's about reclaiming your energy, the precious energy you've been spilling into a cup that was already full on his side, but empty on yours. As I sipped my tea, I felt the weight lifting, not all at once, but enough to breathe deeper. That was the start, the quiet revolution in my heart. And let me tell you, once you choose silence with intention, the world shifts in ways you never expected. Remember those early mornings when you'd wake up excited to send that thinking of you message? That was me, crafting paragraphs about how his voice was the best part of my day, attaching selfies from my workouts just to see his "looking good, babe" reply. But as weeks turned to months, the replies grew shorter, the calls fewer. I'd planned date nights, reservations at that cozy Italian spot in Melville, candles and all, only for him to text last minute, rain check, love, works crazy. And I'd say, okay, because love makes us forgiving, makes us believe in tomorrow. I'd send voice notes pouring out my soul after a long day on set, talking about the pressures of fame, how I just needed his arms around me, and he'd respond hours later with a thumbs up emoji. Ladies, can you feel that sting? The way your heart invests in every detail, remembering his coffee order, black, no sugar, surprising him with tickets to a rugby match, even learning about his family's traditions to feel closer. I was all in, planning vacations we never took, dreaming of a future where my empire included him by my side. Nights turned into therapy sessions over the phone, me listening to his stresses, offering advice, being his rock, while my own cracks went unnoticed. I'd argue gently when he forgot birthdays, not mine, but his own promises. You said you'd call after the meeting. And he'd brush it off. Bonang, you're too intense sometimes. Intense? No, sister, that was love, raw and real, the kind that builds empires but crumbles when it's not reciprocated. I look back now and see how I dimmed my light to fit into his shadow, how I excused the red flags as he's just a guy. The late nights waiting for a goodnight text that never came, the weekends alone while he was out with friends, the way I'd hype myself up to confront him only to melt at his half-hearted apology. I gave my time, my energy, my laughter, my tears, everything a woman gives when she's building something she believes in. But giving without receiving is like watering a plant in the desert. Eventually, you realize the soil was never meant to hold your nurture. I was exhausted, my soul weary from carrying the relationship on my back like a designer bag that had lost its shine. And that's the truth so many of us face. We give until there's nothing left, hoping our love will be enough to change the equation. But love isn't a solo act, it's a duet. And I'd been singing harmony to silence for too long. In those moments of reflection, I started journaling, writing down every effort, every overlooked gesture, and the list grew pages long. It was eye-opening, heartbreaking, but necessary. Sisters, if you're reading this and seeing your own story, know that your giving is beautiful, but it deserves a return. That chapter of endless pouring was my prelude to silence, the build-up that made the quiet so powerful. And in honoring my own worth, I began to see the path forward. The night I spoke, my last words to him was a storm in itself, thunder rumbling outside my window like the universe was echoing the chaos in my heart. And by morning, I had sealed my lips, my fingers, my everything into a vow of silence that changed the game forever. It was a Friday, one of those evenings where the city lights twinkled like false promises, and we were on the phone again, me trying one more time to bridge the gap that had widened into a chasm. Baby, talk to me, I pleaded, my voice cracking as I sat on the floor of my walk-in closet, surrounded by dresses that had seen better dates. I've been here, waiting, giving, and it feels like I'm invisible. He sighed on the other end, that heavy, annoyed sigh that cuts deeper than words. Bonang, not this again. I'm tired, okay? Work's killing me. Tired? I was the one juggling empires, smiling for cameras while my heart ached. But I pushed on, tears streaming as I listed the ways I'd shown up. The care packages during his flu, the encouragement text before big meetings, the way I'd drop everything for his emergencies. Do you even see me? I whispered, my voice breaking into sobs that I hated myself for. He mumbled something about needing space, about how my neediness was too much, and then click, the line went dead. Not even a goodbye. I sat there in the dark, phone clutched to my chest, feeling the final thread snap. That was it, the last explanation, the last fight from my side. I cried until my eyes swelled, until the storm outside quieted, and in that vulnerability, a strength emerged. I wiped my face, stood up, and walked to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my skin like a baptism into a new me. No more. By dawn, as the first light crept in, I deleted our recent chats, not out of spite, but to free myself from the loop of rereading pain. I turned off notifications, put my phone on airplane mode, and stepped into the kitchen to make breakfast for one. Eggs scrambling in the pan, toast popping up, simple acts that grounded me. I didn't call a friend to vent. This was my battle, my transformation. Throughout the morning, I went about my routine. Yoga on the mat, stretching out the tension, meditation where I visualized a wall of peace around my heart. The urge to text him, "I'm done," bubbled up, but I resisted. Silence meant no words at all, no breadcrumbs for him to follow back into old patterns. Lunch was a salad on the patio, birds chirping as if celebrating my resolve. I journaled again. Today, I choose me. My voice rests, but my worth speaks. Afternoon brought work calls, my professional voice steady and commanding, a reminder that Bonang the boss was intact, even if Bonang the lover was healing. As evening approached, I dressed for myself. A silk robe, soft music playing, a glass of wine in hand. No checking if he'd called. I knew he hadn't. That night, I slept soundly, dreaming of open fields where I ran free. Waking to Saturday sun, I committed deeper. Walks in the park without my phone, coffee with a book, moments of joy that were mine alone. Sisters, that transition from pleading to peace wasn't instant. It was a choice renewed every hour. But in embracing the quiet, I handed the microphone to my absence, letting it echo louder than any argument ever could. And that, my loves, was the morning my silence truly began to sing. But curiosity is a sneaky thing, isn't it? Around sunset, I allowed myself one glance at the phone, 0 missed calls, 0 texts, just the lock screen photo of us from happier times, staring back like a ghost. And there he was on Instagram, posting stories from a braai with the boys, meat on the grill, beers clinking, caption, living my best life. My heart did a little flip, not of jealousy exactly, but of confirmation he hadn't even noticed the void yet. My phone stayed in my bag, zipped shut, no peeking, no accidental thumb swipe to the home screen. I laughed with the technician about celebrity gossip, sipped on cucumber water, and for the first time in forever, my mind wasn't drafting the next text to him. Lunch was solo at a cafe on Keys Avenue, avocado toast and a green juice. People watching the couples holding hands across tables, and instead of envy twisting in my stomach, I felt a quiet pride like, girl, you're building something new right here. By afternoon, I was back home, curling up with a script for an upcoming hosting gig, highlighter in hand, lines memorizing themselves because my focus was laser sharp without the distraction of waiting for a buzz. But curiosity is a sneaky thing, isn't it? Around sunset, I allowed myself one glance at the phone, 0 missed calls, 0 texts, just the lock screen photo of us from happier times, staring back like a ghost. And there he was on Instagram, posting stories from a braai with the boys, meat on the grill, beers clinking, caption, living my best life. My heart did a little flip, not of jealousy exactly, but of confirmation he hadn't even noticed the void yet. I set the phone down, poured a glass of Pinot Grigio, and toasted to the mirror, to the woman who's finally invisible on her own terms. Dinner was delivery sushi, chopsticks, clicking in rhythm with a playlist of Lizzo and Beyonce, songs about queens who don't need saving. I danced in my kitchen, barefoot on the cool tiles, feeling the lightness spread from my toes to my fingertips. Bedtime came early. I slipped into satin sheets, no scrolling, just deep breaths and gratitude for a day that belonged entirely to me. But in the quiet before sleep, a small ache whispered, what if he never notices? I pushed it aside, reminding myself that my silence wasn't a test for him, it was oxygen for me. The next morning brought a workout at the gym, sweat dripping as I pounded the treadmill, each step affirming my strength. Coffee, run, afterward, chatting with a barista about the spring weather, and still no urge to check for him. Midday, a business meeting via Zoom, my pitch flawless, colleagues complimenting my glow. Little did they know it was the glow of reclaimed energy. Afternoon tea with my accountant, numbers crunching while I smiled inside at how productive, unburdened love feels. Evening rolled in with a bubble bath, candles flickering, essential oils swirling, and I journaled pages about dreams unrelated to any man. Travel plans to Santorini, a potential clothing line collab, ideas for a women's empowerment summit, phone still silent on the counter, and by now I was starting to wonder if he'd ever break the surface. I cooked pasta, twirled it around my fork while watching a rom-com, laughing at the parts where the guy chases the girl Hollywood magic, right? Sleep came easy again, dreams vivid, and mine alone. That full circle of 24 hours taught me something profound. A day without chasing is a day you start running toward your own finish line. And sisters, when you fill your hours with you, the absence of someone else stops feeling like a hole and starts feeling like space for something real. Day 3 crept in with a subtle shift in the air, like the moment before, a summer storm when the pressure drops and you know change is coming. And that's exactly when his first message pierced my carefully constructed bubble. I was in the middle of a sunrise yoga flow on my balcony, downward dog stretching out the last knots of tension, when I heard the familiar ping from inside my phone, which I'd left on the kitchen island like a relic from another life. I finished my session first, rolled up the mat, wiped sweat with a towel, and only then, with steady hands, did I pick it up. The screen lit up. Em salver. Wait, no, that's Vietnamese, slipping in from muscle memory. His text was in English, raw and confused. Babe, you okay? Haven't heard from you. Sent at 2:07 a.m., the timestamp glowing like a neon sign of his insomnia. My pulse quickened, a rush of adrenaline mixing with the endorphins from yoga, but I didn't reply. Instead, I set the phone face down again, made a smoothie kale, banana, almond milk, and sipped it slowly while watching the city wake up. The message sat there, unread in his eyes, but read 1,000 times in my mind. Part of me wanted to type back everything, the hurt, the exhaustion, the why. But I remembered my vow, silence with purpose. Breakfast became a ritual of mindfulness, eggs, Benedict. I poached myself, hollandaise from scratch, because treating myself right was the new normal. Work calls started early, a radio interview where the host asked about my radiant energy, and I laughed, crediting good sleep and green juice, keeping my secret close. Lunch with a girlfriend at a vegan spot in Maboneng, spilling zero tea about him, just talking fashion week and future goals refreshing, like conversation without an agenda. Afternoon brought a nail appointment, deep red polish to match my rising power, and still no response from me. His second text came while the technician filed, "Did I do something? Call me." My heart raced again, fingers itching over the screen, but I locked it and slipped it into my bag. Manicure done, I strolled through the arts district, snapping photos of murals that spoke of resilience, posting one to my story with the caption, "Finding my color." Evening yoga again, this time restorative poses, child's pose holding all my unspoken words. Dinner was grilled salmon and asparagus, paired with a podcast on emotional intelligence. Ironic, right? Another message from him. "Bonang, this isn't funny. Talk to me." The tone shifting from casual to concerned, and I felt it, that tiny victory of being missed. I journaled by candlelight. His confusion is the echo of my past efforts finally reaching him. Bedtime routine face mask, herbal tea, a chapter of a self-love book. Sleep wrapped around me like a promise kept. Day 3 wasn't just survival, it was strategy. Each ignored ping a brick in the wall I was building around my peace. And in that deliberate quiet, I began to hear my own voice clearer than ever before. By the second week, his panic had escalated into a full symphony of desperation. The kind that plays out in missed calls and voice notes that crack like thunder. And sisters, watching it unfold from my fortress of calm was both empowering and a masterclass in human nature. It started Monday morning with 7 missed calls in a row, my phone vibrating off the nightstand while I showered, steam filling the bathroom as I sang along to Alicia Keys. I toweled off, saw the barrage, and felt a mix of pity and power, no answer. Breakfast was oatmeal with berries, eaten while reviewing contracts, my lawyer praising my focus. His first voice note came mid-morning. "Bonang, please, I'm worried, pick up." His voice shaky, background noise of traffic he was driving, probably to work, mind clearly not on the road. I saved it, didn't listen again. Work pulled me into back-to-back meetings, launching a new campaign, my ideas flowing like never before. Lunch was a power salad at my desk, scrolling industry news, no social media detour to his profile. Afternoon gym session, weights clanging as I pushed heavier than usual, channeling everything into muscle memory. Another voice note. "I messed up, I know. Just tell me you're safe." The admission hung in the air, but still, silence from me. Evening brought a dinner invite from a producer friend, declined politely, choosing instead a home-cooked stir-fry and a bubble bath with Epsom salts. Doorbell rang at 9 p.m., him standing there with takeout from our favorite spot, eyes red-rimmed. I peeked through the peephole, heart pounding but didn't open. He knocked softly, called my name, left the food on the mat. I waited until his car pulled away, then brought the bag in, ate a spring roll, and trashed the rest symbolic, right? Tuesday mirrored the intensity, more calls, texts pleading for a sign of life. I spent the day on set for a commercial, lights hot, director loving my vibe. His messages evolved. "I can't sleep. What did I do?" Voice cracking in another note. I journaled during breaks. His chaos is the consequence of my former chaos. Wednesday, he showed up at my gate, security buzzing me. I instructed no entry. He waited an hour, left flowers. Thursday, a letter slid under the door, handwritten, apologizing for taking me for granted. I read it once, folded it neatly, filed it away. Friday, culmination, he called my best friend who texted me, "He's losing it, B. Says he realizes now." I smiled, replied to her, "Let him." Weekend arrived. I flew to Cape Town for a quick brand event, ocean air cleansing any lingering doubt. From the hotel balcony, Table Mountain looming, I reflected on his unraveling. Back home Sunday, more evidence. Mutual friends asking if I'm okay, him tagging me in old photos with heartfelt captions. But I remained a ghost in his world. That week, of his hoarding desperation showed me the depth of what silence can unearth, not just his regret, but my resilience. And in the eye of his storm, I found the calm that only comes from knowing your worth is non-negotiable. That rainy evening in the third week hit me like a plot twist I never saw coming, the kind where the sky opens up and pours out every unspoken emotion. And sisters, I almost shattered my silence right there on the balcony. It was a Thursday, clouds heavy and grey over Johannesburg, thunder growling low like it was warning me to stay strong. I had just finished a long day morning radio spot promoting my new fragrance line. The studio buzzing with energy as fans called in sharing how my journey inspired them to chase dreams. Lunch was a quick wrap with my team, brainstorming the next big move, laughter filling the room, because when you're aligned with your purpose, joy follows. Afternoon brought a fitting for an awards show gown, silk draping my curves as the designer pinned and praised. Bonang, you're glowing differently. I knew why the glow of a woman no longer dimming for anyone. By evening, I was home, cozy in cashmere socks and an oversized tee, stirring a pot of butternut soup on the stove, the aroma wrapping around me like a hug. Rain started pattering against the windows, soft at first, then building to a downpour that blurred the city lights into watercolor streaks. That's when I heard the knock persistent, urgent, not the delivery guy. Peeking through the curtains, there he was, soaked to the bone under the balcony overhang, hoodie clinging, eyes searching up at my window. "Bonang," he called, voice muffled by the storm but laced with desperation. "Please, just open up. I need to see you." My heart slammed against my ribs, a wild drumbeat urging me to run down to end the ache for both of us. I grabbed my phone, thumb hovering over his contact, the call button glowing temptingly. One tap, and I could hear his voice live, not through a screen. Memories flooded, our first kiss in the rain, like this, laughing, as we dashed for cover, the way he'd hold me during storms, promising to always be my shelter. But then came the flashbacks of neglect, the unanswered pleas, the dismissed feelings, the way his "I love you" felt conditional. Fingers trembling, I started typing, "Come up, we can talk." The words stared back, almost sent. Soup bubbling over on the stove snapped me out of it. I rushed to turn it down, buying time. Back at the phone, I deleted the draft, letter by letter, each erase a reinforcement of my boundary. He knocked again, louder. "I've been standing here for hours. Wait, no, 3 hours now. I'm not leaving until you talk to me." 3 hours? In this deluge? Part of me softened, imagining pneumonia, his stubborn love, or was it ego? I paced the living room, rain lashing like my inner turmoil. Journal on the couch beckoned. I scribbled furiously. Why do I want to save him from the consequences of his actions? My silence is the lesson. Reading it back grounded me. He shouted apologies into the night. Specifics, this time I ignored your calls when you needed me after that awards show fallout. I flaked on our anniversary dinner for a boys' night. I took your support for granted during my promotion chaos. Each confession, a raindrop hitting the pavement of my resolve. The urge to comfort surged again. I pictured opening the door, towel in hand, pulling him in from the cold. But comfort now would undo weeks of growth. I dimmed the lights, sat cross-legged on the floor, and meditated, breathing in strength, exhaling doubt. His voice faded to please, then sobs, raw and unfiltered. Hours ticked by, clock struck midnight, then 1. Finally, engine revving, he was leaving. I crept to the window, his car pulled away, taillights vanishing in the storm. Relief washed over me, mixed with sorrow for the girl I used to be, who would have run after him. Morning came clear-skied, sun drying the world. I stepped onto the balcony, puddle reflections showing a woman unbroken. No regret for holding the line. That night tested my silence and proved it unbreakable. And in choosing myself over the storm, I learned that true rescue starts from within. His attempts at change rolled in like a makeover montage, flashy on the surface but questionable underneath, and sisters, dissecting each gesture, became my daily empowerment exercise. It began the next day with a public apology on his Instagram story, a video of him looking remorseful against a plain wall, no filters. To the woman who held me down, I'm sorry for not holding you up. I see you now, Bonang. Tagged me, of course, and the comments exploded. Friends heart-eyeing, fans speculating. I watched it once, volume low during my morning smoothie blend, noting the sincerity in his eyes but questioning the platform. Public for accountability or for optics. Flowers arrived at my office roses, my favorite. 24 with a card. Every petal a day I took you for granted. Let me make it right. My assistant gushed, but I smelled them, appreciated the beauty, then donated to the lobby vase, symbolic redistribution of energy. Work flowed seamlessly. Conference call with sponsors, my pitch confident, deals closing because clarity breeds success. Lunch was quinoa bowl at a health cafe. Eavesdropping on women empowering each other at the next table, nodding along in spirit. Afternoon brought more, a delivery of my favorite chocolates from that artisanal shop in Pretoria, note reading, sweet as the memories we built, bitter as my regrets. Tempting, but I shared with the team, sweetness not hoarded. He called, my mom, bold move, she texted. He sounds broken, baby, says he'll do anything. I replied gratefully but firmly, appreciate it, Ma, this is my path. Evening yoga class, instructor guiding us through warrior poses, each stance mirroring my stance. Another gesture, he posted throwback photos of us, captions poetic about soulmates and second chances. Likes poured in, but I muted notifications. Dinner solo seared tuna, jazz playing soft. Analyzed in my journal. Flowers daily now, stacking on the doorstep. Voice notes evolving from panic to plans. I'll book that trip to Mauritius you always wanted. Therapy for my communication issues. Impressive on paper, weekend hit with a bang. He showed up at a charity event I hosted, suited up, donating generously in my name, eyes locking across the room, pleading. Crowd murmured. I smiled professionally, thanked him publicly for the support, kept distance privately. Post-event debrief with champagne. Was the donation genuine growth or grand gesture to win favor? Monday emails from mutual friends. He's different, B. Talking about you nonstop, reflecting hard. I pondered during a massage, knots releasing as I released expectations. More changes. He quit late-night outings, posted gym progress with captions about bettering for her. Therapy confirmation slipped in a text. Session 1, done learning to listen. Credible? Time would tell. Midweek. A handwritten letter via courier, pages detailing specific wrongs and vows to amend. I read by fireplace, fire crackling approval for some parts, skepticism for others. Journal entry, change must be consistent, not cinematic. Flowers persisted, varieties changing, orchids for endurance, sunflowers for adoration. He started a public journal account. Anonymous but obvious posts about valuing queens. Viral even. I observed from afar, attending Broadway-level shows of contrition. Work flowed seamlessly. Conference call with sponsors, my pitch confident, deals closing because clarity breeds success. Lunch was quinoa bowl at a health cafe. Eavesdropping on women empowering each other at the next table, nodding along in spirit. Afternoon brought more, a delivery of my favorite chocolates from that artisanal shop in Pretoria, note reading, sweet as the memories we built, bitter as my regrets. Tempting, but I shared with the team, sweetness not hoarded. The moment of clarity crashed over me like the final act revelation, when his blame flipped the script and exposed the core truth that he wasn't the one, and my silence had been the perfect mirror all along. It was a crisp Sunday morning, the kind where Josie air feels fresh-washed, and I was sipping coffee on the patio, reviewing a week of his transformations in my mind like a highlight reel on mute. Phone buzzed, not him, but a long voice note from a friend who'd seen him out. B, he's venting to everyone about how your silence is stressing him out, making him look bad. Stressing him? The irony brewed hotter than my espresso. Then came his text barrage, shift evident. This silent treatment is immature, Bonang. You're punishing me. Punishing? My boundary became his burden. Another. I've been trying so hard, flowers, apologies, everything, and you ignore it all. How is that fair? Fair? The word ignited flashbacks of my unfair efforts. I set the cup down, hands steady, and listened to the build-up. Voice note from him next. Voice raised, frustrated. You're stressing me out with this game. Friends think I'm the bad guy now. Just talk so we can move past this. Game? My self-preservation labeled entertainment. Journal open, I chronicled blame reversal, classic victim to villain flip when accountability fatigues. Work called brunch, meeting with investors, my presentation on point, charm effortless because emotional clutter cleared, but his messages persisted. If you cared, you'd respond. This is emotional blackmail. Blackmail, the audacity fueled a laugh, genuine and freeing. Lunch evolved into strategy session, but mind wandered to patterns. Initial panic, grand gestures, now deflection. Afternoon spa facial, the esthetician noting my relaxed aura. His final salvo, fine, be like that. I'm done chasing if you're gonna be cold. Cold? The woman who burned for him now iced for survival. I reflected during a drive along Emerentia Dam, water sparkling truths. His changes were reactions, not revolutions, rooted in discomfort, not devotion. Evening brought dinner with self-steak, medium rare, wine pairing perfect, analyzed deeply. True partners evolve proactively. His growth sprouted from loss, fear, wiltable without it. Journal conclusion, mirror held up, reflection cracked his, not mine. Bedtime meditation affirmed, silence unveiled incompatibility. The blame game confirmed what heart suspected. He sought convenience, not commitment. And in that unmasking, my path crystallized, forward, unencumbered, toward love that mirrors effort without prompting. Sisters, when the facade crumbles under pressure, thank the reveal. It saves you from building on sand. With the truth laid bare, like a map I no longer needed to follow, I stepped out of the silence not to return to him, but to reclaim the narrative entirely on my own terms, sending one final message that closed the chapter and opened a universe of possibilities for the woman I was becoming. His last accusatory text still lingered on the screen from the night before, but they read like relics now, artifacts from a museum of lessons learned. I opened a new message thread, fingers steady, no hesitation in my spirit. The words flowed clean and concise. Thank you for showing me exactly what I deserve by revealing what you couldn't give. I found my peace, and it's not in waiting. Wishing you growth on your path. Goodbye, send. Then, with a breath that felt like exhaling years of doubt, I blocked the number, deleted the thread, and cleared the digital debris. No anger, no lingering what-ifs, just closure, gift wrapped in self-respect. The phone went into a drawer out of sight as I turned to my laptop for a day of creation. Emails flooded with opportunities, a podcast invite to discuss women's autonomy, a collaboration with an international brand on a capsule collection celebrating resilience. I dove in, responses crisp and enthusiastic, my voice in every keystroke echoing the queen who'd risen from the quiet. Lunch was a working one with my manager, salads and strategies over Zoom, her eyes widening at my proposals. Bonang, this fire is next level. Afternoon brought a photo shoot for the cover of a lifestyle magazine, theme Rebirth, and the irony wasn't lost on me as poses came naturally, fierce and free under the lights. Makeup artist dabbing highlighter. Whatever you're doing, keep it your skin, your energy, iconic. I smiled, knowing the secret was subtraction, not addition, removing what drained to make room for what elevated. Evening settled with a sunset run along the neighborhood trails, earbuds pumping, empowerment anthems, sweat mixing with the thrill of forward motion. Dinner was grilled chicken and veggies on the patio, stars emerging like applause for my solo performance. Reflection time by the fire pit, flames dancing as I toasted marshmallows, childlike joy in adult victory. Journal entry that night. Silence wasn't the end. It was the editor's cut, trimming the fat to reveal the masterpiece. Sleep came deep and dreamless, waking to Tuesday with a schedule packed by design. Morning interview on a national breakfast show, sharing snippets of my story without naming names, focusing on the universal ladies. Your absence is a teacher. Let it instruct before you re-engage. Callers flooded the lines, voices trembling with recognition, thanking me for voicing their silent struggles. Midday meeting with lawyers, finalizing the Women's Scholarship Fund, papers signed with a flourish that felt like freedom. Afternoon tea with a mentor, her wisdom affirming, you didn't lose a man, you gained yourself. Social media buzzed my goodbye post subtle, a photo of sunrise with caption, new chapters start at dawn. Comments poured in from sisters worldwide. This is my sign. Finally blocked him today. Queen behavior. I engaged lightly, hearts and encouragement, building community in the glow, evening yoga flow, instructor's theme, surrender, perfect timing as I released the last threads of the past in corpse pose. Dinner party for one turn celebration, steak jazz dancing in the kitchen like no one watched because no one needed to. The week unfolded in this rhythm, productive days, joyful nights, connections deepening with those who matched my energy. A surprise call from an old flame, respectful and intrigued by the shift. Coffee date set, no pressure, just curiosity. Travel plans solidified. Solo trip to the winelands, vineyards, and self-discovery. Foundation launch announced. Press release highlighting from silence to strength as the motto. Interviews multiplied. My platform amplifying the message. Silence as strategy, not submission. Philanthropy meetings, budgets, ballooning with donor interest, inspired by the authenticity. Personal milestones, new personal best at the gym, wardrobe refreshed with pieces that screamed confidence, bookshelf expanding with titles on emotional intelligence and boundary setting. Friendships reignited, brunches filled with real talk, no more surface-level distractions. Family dinner, mom's proud tears, my girl found her roar. And through it all, the ex faded into footnote status rumors of his rebound, his regrets whispered through mutual circles, but irrelevant to my orbit. Months blurred into a tapestry of triumph, sold-out speaking tour, book deal inked for a memoir on empowered endings, collaborations with icons who saw the light in my story. Romantic prospects emerged organically, dates with men who initiated, communicated, celebrated my fullness without trying to fill a role. But the greatest love remained self, nurtured daily in rituals of gratitude and growth. Sisters, emerging from silence isn't about the dramatic comeback to him. It's the quiet revolution back to you, where every step forward echoes the worth you always had. And in living that truth unapologetically, you inspire a ripple that turns into a wave for every woman ready to choose herself first. If this journey moved you, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment with your own silent story, like to spread the empowerment, and share with a sister who needs to hear she's worth the quiet roar. Don't miss the next update, dropping soon with fresh tools to level up your life.